Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from A Man Talks FPL SC. In today's video, we're going through the Game Week 3 team selection. I am recording on Tuesday afternoon. A bit of a knee-jerk reaction as well to the West Ham vs Leicester game this morning. Obviously big scores from Benrahma, Antonio, and I think overall a lot of the more popular players did well for a lot of managers in Game Week 2. So I'm expecting a lot of big scores from you all. So let me know in the comments below how you went. We'll go through how my team went in Game Week 2 and also what kind of transfers I'm thinking of making for Game Week 3 and how the team is shaping up for the week ahead. So if you enjoy the video, really appreciate a thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and let's get straight into it. So a summary of how I went in Game Week 2. I scored 68 points, which I'm pretty happy with. It's a pretty solid score. It was a little bit higher than the Game Week average, which I think was around 56. I got a Game Week 2 rank of 1.5 million. And to be honest, if you get that rank every Game Week for the rest of the season, you're going to end the season with a pretty decent overall rank. So I'm happy with that with the start. And I've got an overall rank at around 560k, which after 2 Game Weeks, I'm pretty happy with. Sitting inside the top million, I think that's a pretty solid start. Now, it was my defense that really carried me in Game Week 2. Obviously, clean sheet for Sanchez, the Brighton goalie. Liverpool fullbacks were absolute gold this week. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Tsimikas both getting an assist and a clean sheet and both getting bonus points. So Alexander-Arnold 12, Tsimikas 11, absolute legend. So very happy with the pairing of them. Luke Shaw, United looked a little bit off the pace and they did concede obviously that goal to Southampton, but Shaw did create a couple of chances, so he was able to get 2 bonus points, so I'll take those 4 points as a return. And Soufal against Leicester was able to get an assist for one of Antonio's goals, so very happy with that. He was unfortunate last week to not get an assist, so the fact that he's got an assist as well this week, I'm very happy with the attacking promise that he's showing. West Ham have got good fixtures to begin the season, so very happy with Soufal at 5 million in the team with a 5-point return in Game Week 2. Midfield was definitely a letdown this game week. Obviously, there was so much debate around, whether you captain Mo Salah, should you captain Bruno Fernandes this week. It didn't really make any difference, to be honest, because both of them blanked. Salah did get, obviously, the clean sheet, so he got 3 points turned into 6 versus Bruno, who didn't get the clean sheet point and also got a yellow card, so only a 1 point. So really unfortunate for anyone who captained Bruno, but much of a muchness, to be honest, between the pair of them. Son really disappointed also with the blank. Wolves played really well, and Spurs weren't able to accumulate that many shots on target. They only won because of that penalty to Dele Alli. When the penalty was awarded, I was thinking, hallelujah, Heung-min Son is going to take the penalty, but it was actually Ali who stepped up to take it. I'm hoping that was only because he won it, or maybe him and Son had a bit of an agreement, but I'm hoping that Son may be on penalties moving forward. We did obviously Harry Kane substituted on, so if he does stay at Spurs, obviously will be the #1 penalty taker. So yeah, Son, unfortunate that he got a blank, but he's got 2 good fixtures coming up in Watford and Crystal Palace, so I'm happy enough to hold, I think, for the interim. Buendia, another blank. Again, he is someone I'm definitely considering as a trade out. He's had 2 good games with Watford and Newcastle. I think he's had a total of 1 shot and 1 chance created. He hasn't really passed the eye test and getting in terms of the right positions, and doesn't really seem like he's possessing that much of an attacking threat. He is obviously new to the team, so he might just be getting used to the system. So this punt that I've had at the moment hasn't really paid off, and so only the 2 points here for Emi Buendia. In the forwards, obviously Tony, again, another blank, but he did accumulate 5 shots. So I'm hopeful that the goals will come sooner rather than later, hopefully. And Brentford still have a few decent games coming up. So Tony, yes, obviously he's going to be very heavily sold, given that's now his 2nd blank in a row. But I'm crossing my fingers and hopeful that he's able to get some returns for us in the next few weeks. And Mikel Antonio, what a legend, 16 points after 13 last game week, scoring a double with an assist against Leicester this morning. Absolute legend. I'm so happy I started with him. And in terms of the benchings, I benched the right players. Smith Rowe in a very tough matchup against Chelsea was only able to get the 2 points, and Luke Ayling, obviously they conceded 2 goals to Everton, so only the 1 point there, so didn't really make any errors in terms of the benching this week. So overall, 68 points, pretty happy with that start to the season, and hopefully we can push on for more green arrows for the rest of the season. Let me know in the comments below how you all went in Game Week 2. And so now let's take a look at how the team is going to be shaping up for Game Week 3. Now coming into Game Week 3, I've also rolled the transfer from last week. So I have got 2 free transfers. You'll note there I have actually made 1 transfer already, bit of a knee-jerk kind of trade. We will get into that a little bit later when we discuss the rest of my team. And squad value is looking pretty decent at the moment as well, with a few players going up in price. So starting off in goal, Sanchez, not looking to make another transfer here, obviously just coming off a clean sheet. Everton is a bit of a tougher matchup, and I probably would expect Everton to actually score in this game, but hopefully Sanchez can make a few saves and mitigate against that lack of a clean sheet, because I think with Dominic Calvert-Lewin looking really sharp, I think Everton will score against Brighton, but I don't think it's a high priority move to get him out of the team anytime soon. Now defense, again, not much change here. Obviously, Liverpool have a tough matchup against Chelsea, but Alexander-Arnold, you can't really bench him, I think, at that price point, and with that always that potential for attacking returns, he's not going to go anywhere out of the starting lineup, so he's lining up for us in Game Week 3. Soufal, great matchup against Crystal Palace, as I mentioned, coming off an assist, and what probably should have been an assist in Game Week 1 as well. Very hopeful for potentially a clean sheet and also some attacking returns in this fixture. Luke Shaw, obviously, against Wolves, who looked pretty sharp. They may concede again, but obviously he has got that ability to get some attacking returns, so he obviously is going to line up. And Luke Ayling will come into the starting lineup this game week purely because of that matchup against Burnley, who, whose attack isn't the best. And, Burnley did concede quite a few chances on their right-hand side. We saw Salah, he scored a goal from an offside position. And generally, I found he was quite in a lot of open space. And so on that right-hand side, I'm hopeful for Luke Ayling, who plays as the right back, to be able to get some good attacking returns potentially in this game. Also thrown in with a clean sheet would be a really great outcome. And Tsimikas is on the bench there, as I don't want to double up on the Liverpool defence. He potentially could be a transfer out this week, given that he has gone up in price now to 4.2. So if I do sell him now, I'll be able to bank 0.1 mil in profit. And so he could go down to like a Duffy from Brighton, who's also 4.1. Potentially what I am thinking more of is going to like a Livramento from Southampton, who is 4.0. Looks like he's had a couple of starts now in that starting right back spot. He actually looked quite good as well. I wouldn't be using him to play. It would just be more as that kind of bench fodder at 4.0 million and bank the 0.1 million profit that we can use in the rest of the team. So Tsimikas definitely could be on the chopping block. It really depends, I guess, on the news that we get later in the week in terms of Andrew Robertson and his return. He was on the bench last week against Burnley, and I'm expecting against Chelsea, Klopp is going to want to play his premier fullback, so I'd expect Robertson, if fit, to line up against Chelsea, and then Tsimikas would drop out of the team. But he's done his job, he's got 17 points in the first 2 game weeks, gone up in price to 4.2, absolute legend, can't fault him for what he's done for us so far. So next up in the midfield, I guess the biggest talking point is that 4th midfielder we got there, Said Benrahma. I had to do the transfer this morning. I think looking at the highlights and what he's been able to produce in the past 2 game weeks, I thought with those fixtures coming up, the potential for attacking returns is going to continue. Buendia was going down in price to 6.4 million and Benrahma was going up. And so that 0.2 price swing, I thought at this stage of the season, it can make it difficult to do future transfers. So for me, I'm not always one to do early transfers. I typically do like to wait for a lot of information, but with the 2 free transfers and that potential for that 0.2 price swing, look, I know Buendia had a good fixture against Brentford this week, but he had 2 good fixtures the last couple of weeks and he's just not passing the eye test for me. Benrahma has had a toughish matchup against Leicester, good matchup against Newcastle, and he's looked really good to the eye already. 2 12-point returns in his first 2 games. And his price is going to go up and crazy. So I think part of this is also, one of it is fixtures and form. He's got the fixtures, he's got the form, he's going to be able to generate some prices and generate some team value as well. So for that reason, for me, it was actually quite an easy move to move Buendia on to Benrahma. So I have made that early move. In terms of the other 3 midfielders, no change there. Mo Salah, obviously a tough matchup against Chelsea, but I'm not going to be benching him, and he has gone up in price to 12.6 million. Bruno Fernandes, obviously United in general looked a little bit off the pace last week against Southampton, but a good matchup against Wolves. I think obviously you're not going to be looking to bench Bruno Fernandes, and he could potentially be a captain consideration for this game week as well. And Heung-min Son, this is going to be dependent on any potential injury news. He did get subbed off in the 72nd minute of the game against Wolves, but it didn't look too serious. So again, we'll have to wait on some potential injury news on Son, but I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, that he is named to play because he's got 2 nice fixtures in the next couple of weeks with Watford and Crystal Palace, and he is a very strong captaincy potential of mine for this game week. So I'm really hoping that he pulls through for me. Obviously a blank against Wolves last round wasn't fantastic, but he was able to get a return against Man City, and so I'm really hopeful that he's able to get me something this game week. And I've got Smith Rowe on the bench there at 5.5 million. Coming up against Man City, I don't see any reason for Arsenal to get any joy in that matchup. Obviously they're still missing a few players due to COVID. Apologies, in my previous video I mentioned Lacazette and Aubameyang had illness, and I kind of thought maybe it was some disciplinary thing. Obviously since then it's come out that was all actually COVID related, so apologies on my part for kind of feeding into some kind of a rumor. It was all really actually related to COVID, and so Arsenal are missing a few players. Tough matchup against Man City. Smith Rowe could also be someone who's on the chopping block, but for me, he's such a low price at 5.5, and with good fixtures actually from game week 4, I actually wanted to prioritize moving on Buendia as opposed to Smith Rowe, because Buendia at 6.5 million, obviously he's worth more, and there's just a lot of good players around his price point, and the fixtures were going to turn for Villa, versus a Smith Rowe who, at his price, who would I really transfer to? I'm not quite sure. Fixtures are going to be better from game week 4, so for me it was easier to hold on to Smith Rowe, but he will be on the bench in game week 3. And finally, up top, no change here with Mikel Antonio against Crystal Palace. That's a fantastic matchup. He's shown what damage he can do already so far this season, so I'm expecting another big points haul here potentially, and he could potentially also be the captain for this game week. I think he will be very heavily captained by a lot of managers this game week, just what he's done already in the first 2 games, and a juicy matchup at home for West Ham. He's looking the goods, and he's already gone up in price to 7.7 million. Ivan Toney is also someone, he's blanked in the first 2 games. Not sure how long he's going to remain in the team, but he still has a few decent matchups with Villa, Brighton and Wolves. So again, that was the reasoning why I wanted to hold him just for a little bit longer compared to a Buendia, who really only had the one good fixture, and then he was getting straight into a tough run with like Chelsea, Everton, I think it was Tottenham and United. So happy enough with Toney at the moment, and obviously I've got a 4.5 million forward on the bench there. He's not going to be doing anything for me. So at the moment, this is how the team's looking. I still have the one free transfer as well. I only really see myself going in 2 different directions. If Son is injured and we get some potential news that he's out for a long time, and I'll be able to move him on to basically any midfielder of my choice. But what I think could be more likely is Tsimikas. I do maybe move him on to a Livramento at 4.0 million, and I'll bank the 0.1 in the bank, and that would increase my balance in the bank to 0.5 million, which is a little bit more helpful in terms of overall flexibility in terms of future transfers. But if I don't decide to do that Tsimikas move, I'll probably roll this other free transfer into game week 4, because obviously there's going to be an international break, so there'll be 2 weeks off, and that gives a lot of flexibility with having the 2 free transfers to be able to manage potential quarantine issues which are coming out with all the international friendlies, and also any potential injuries that may occur. So those are the 3 main ways I'm potentially looking at it. The Son one is really going to be dependent on any injury news. Tsimikas will really just be if, say for example, if I see Livramento is maybe going up in price, I may jump the gun early just to kind of bank that 0.1, because chasing price changes isn't the be all and end all. We all care about the points, but at the beginning of the season, I think being able to build up some team value is a good strategy. And if there's no other issues in the team, then I might go for it. Otherwise, I might roll that free transfer into game week 4. Now, in terms of the captaincy and vice captaincy, again, I'm not 100% certain on what the plan is at this stage. Coming into this game week, I was certain that I was going to be captaining Heung-min Son against Watford, as I think he is the premium with potentially the best fixture for a captain. But Mikel Antonio is also looking really, really tempting with a great matchup against Crystal Palace. So at the moment, I'm thinking of potentially going with a Heung-min Son captaincy and a Antonio vice captaincy, but this could potentially easily swap. I also haven't completely ruled out Bruno Fernandes coming up against Wolves. Yes, it is a away fixture, and Wolves looked pretty decent actually last week against Spurs, but I think United will want to bounce back after that pretty weak showing, to be honest, against Southampton. So I think those 3 are the main considerations for captaincy and vice captaincy. At the moment, it's on Son. I may change this. If you want to find out what my final decision will be, do follow me on Twitter. Otherwise, check in the comments below this video. I'll probably update what my final decision is, but at the moment, I'm leaning towards a Son captaincy pending any potential injury news, and a Mikel Antonio vice captaincy. Well, that's it guys, that is the Game Week 3 team selection. Let me know in the comments below how you're shaping up for Game Week 3, how you did in Game Week 2, any questions that you may have, do obviously let me know and I'll try to get back to you as many as I can. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video, good luck for Game Week 3, and I'll see you all in the next video.